Let's go. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Heartland Highlight Reel for July the 8th, 2026. My name is Dave Little, and we are recording from the Dave Cave, and we have got a lot to do tonight. We're going to review highlights of matches from around the Filsinger Games Universe, and we're also going to do a reveal, an unboxing as it were, of the new cards that I have received. For those of you who didn't order the card sets, this will be a lot of fun. I warn you in advance that we're going to do things tonight that will strain the limits of my technical capabilities. I've got a lot to learn about this technology business. So we're going to be showing things from the desktop. We're going to be showing the photos from some of the highlights from the highlight reel. So we're going to be going back and forth from me to the desktop to the PowerPoint, and we will do our best. No promises. This is take number 2, by the way. And I've been playing around with stuff in my Dave Cave for the last hour or so, just trying to get cameras and microphones and everything else to work. And I think we have it, but let's give it a shot. We are going to start with, we are going to start with our highlights from around the Filsinger Games Universe. So I'm going to go here, and then I'm going to go here, and then I'm going to go here, and I'm going to go here. And you should now be seeing, with any luck, the title slide for the Heartland Highlight Reel, July the 8th, 2026. So for starters, there is no Heartland Championship Wrestling matches for the midweek, as we have just finished off the 2026 Freedom Festival. If you were here on Sunday to check that out, we thank you. If you weren't here, you can check that out on YouTube, or you can catch the recap on the Filsinger Games message board. It was a great show. 4 big grudge matches. The reveal of the masked man who has been battling it out with Ted DiBiase, and a number of other cool things happening on the grudge match side. 2 Heartland NWA title defenses, as both the Midnight Express and Buddy Rogers came away with their tag team and world heavyweight champion titles intact. However, Buddy Rogers took an absolute pummeling from Kevin Sullivan, foreign objects involved and everything else. We are pleased to announce that Buddy Rogers did not suffer any permanent injury. As a result of that, he'll be stitched up for a week or so, and looking to continue his title defenses. Also on the show, the Butcher Legacy Ladies Championship and the Butcher Legacy Championship also defended. A new champion crowned on the Butcher Legacy Ladies Championship, as Malaya Hosaka took down Leilani Kai to win that championship. And in the men's gauntlet match, it was it was Bob Orton Sr. successfully defending his title over a gauntlet full of contenders. Ken Patera, I believe, the last man standing in that gauntlet, before falling prey to Bob Orton Sr., who held on to his title. Now let's take you to action from around the Filsinger Games Universe this week. Velvet Wrestling, card number 339, a chaotic night indeed. Rivalries boiled over and championship implications were felt throughout the card. The opening contest pitted the tag team of Lord Littlebrook and Fuzzy Cupid against Meatball and Igor Rasputin, and that match descended into complete bedlam. Both teams disqualified after the action spiraled out of control. Former Butcher Legacy champion on the ladies' side, Leilani Kai, scored one of the most impressive victories of the evening by pinning Major Guns bringing the impressive winning streak of Major Guns to an abrupt end. Mystico battled Magnum TA, and it was Magnum TA getting himself disqualified just as Mystico had victory within his grasp. And Martina picked up a controversial disqualification win over Lacey. Intercontinental Champion Fritz von Erich continued to prove why he wears championship gold, forcing Drew Parker to submit in an impressive performance. Television champion Mr. Hughes also held on to his title, pinning Tracy Smothers in a hard-fought title defense. The ladies' television champion remained with Lioness Asuka after Gail Kim got herself disqualified. And lots of other action in the women's division as victories were earned by Martina, Taylor Made, Twilla Pruitt, Alpha Female, and Gypsy Rose, all earning victories in the ladies' division. Tyson Kidd picked up a victory in his growing resume, defeating the veteran Rip Hawk. And in one of the night's most unusual encounters, it was Atsushi Onita defeating Medusa Michelli by countout. Outside the ring, Velvet Wrestling also making news, strengthening its roster, announcing the signings of 4 new wrestlers to Velvet: Fallon Gray, the French Angel Maurice Tillet, Vern Gagne, the quintessential grappler, and Gypsy Mac, all joining Velvet Wrestling this week. The road ahead in Velvet Wrestling is only on the rise. Ted DiBiase still your heavyweight champion. Tracy Smothers, your Universal Champion. Fritz von Erich with the Intercontinental Championship. And Mr. Hughes, your television champion on Velvet Wrestling broadcasts. So good job, Neil, to bring us the action from Velvet. Now moving on, the Great North Wrestling on tour, Bemidji, Minnesota, the scene for card number 472, a spectacular Independence Day celebration at the sold-out Sanford Center. Ivan Putski kicked off the festivities by overpowering Larry the Axe Hennig with the devastating Polish Hammer. The excitement continued with the Torres brothers making an impressive debut in Great North Wrestling, surviving a grueling battle with the Texas Hangman. Ramon Torres getting the pinfall on Psycho, while Alberto kept Killer from making the save. The energy reached another level when Edge electrified the crowd, fighting back from an Austin Idol power slam to score a thrilling victory with the lightning-fast spear. After intermission, Tony Garea and Tom Zank earned a hard-fought win over the legendary Vachons, with Garea forcing Mad Dog to submit. The highly anticipated interstate title elimination match between Jackie Fargo and Paul Orndorff never had a chance to get going, as these two men erupted into an uncontrollable brawl that carried from ringside all the way to the locker room, forcing the officials to declare a double disqualification. That brought us to the main event of the evening. With the World Championship on the line, the challenger, Ernie Ladd, was poised to dethrone Harley Race, but Bobby Heenan sacrificed himself to create the opening that Harley Race needed. Race struck from behind with a crushing axe handle before planting Ladd with a thunderous piledriver to retain the Great North Wrestling World Championship before the roaring, if not delighted, Bemidji crowd. Another capacity crowd in Bemidji, another unforgettable night. And after a brief 4th of July break, Great North Wrestling will roll into Green Bay for GNW On Tour number 473. If Bemidji was any indication, business is booming. The competition is fierce and the Great North is hotter than ever. Moving on to American Championship Wrestling, a historic night as the new era officially began. James Lawrence III bidding farewell to Appalachian Championship Wrestling, taking it on the road. The championships have been renamed, new title holders have been crowned, and the road to Beach Blast has never looked more explosive. The night opened with a brutal Singapore cane match, Kevin Sullivan getting the victory over Jimmy Valiant. The Midnight Express, with Jim Cornette once again proving to be the difference maker, stole momentum from the team of Wahoo McDaniel and Billy White Wolf by putting Billy White Wolf away with the Vegematic. In a wild street fight that spilled all around the arena and out into the parking lot, James Storm, the Tennessee Cowboy, finally got his revenge on Thunderbolt Patterson, getting the pinfall and ostensibly ending that war with a crushing lung blower. History was made as the Masked Superstar defeated Nikita Koloff with a swinging neckbreaker to become the very first American Championship Wrestling World Television Champion. But his celebration was short-lived when Baron von Raschke, Nikita Koloff, and Ivan Koloff launched a vicious 3-on-1 assault on the Superstar after the match. Barry Windham added even more gold to the evening, adding to the prestige, defeating Diamond Dallas Page with the Sweetwater Suplex, followed by a lariat to become the inaugural United States champion in the ACW. Inside a brutal steel cage, the Rock and Roll Express overcame the team of Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard in a bloody classic, sealing the victory with their signature double dropkick to capture the first ever ACW World Tag Team Championship. And that brought us to our unforgettable main event. J.J. Dillon, barred from ringside, left Johnny Valentine on his own to battle Sergeant Slaughter. And it was Sergeant Slaughter who dominated that match, forcing Johnny Valentine to pass out in the Cobra Clutch to become the inaugural ACW World Heavyweight Champion. Red, white, and blue confetti filled the arena, and America the Beautiful echoed throughout the building as Slaughter celebrated with the fans, closing the book on one of the most memorable nights in ACW history. The new champions have been crowned, rivalries have intensified, and now all eyes turn toward Beach Blast, the upcoming mega show by American Championship Wrestling. You won't want to miss that chapter in the history. Coming up from Frank Wayne-Scott on July the 19th, Over the Edge coming up. Co-main events, Kevin Steen defending the ROH World title against Moose, and Hangman Adam Page facing Killer Cross in a hardcore Texas death match. All the Filsinger Games Universe awaits anxiously that big show coming from Erie, Pennsylvania on July the 19th. And finally, a recap of the Butcher Legacy Championships. As we mentioned, Bob Orton Sr. defending that title at Freedom Festival 2026. Next up for Bob Orton Jr. will be Davey Boy Smith, nominated by Christopher Baker, a.k.a. Bear 805, a.k.a. the 2026 Galacticon West Cup winner. And by virtue of that win, the Big Bear was afforded the luxury of choosing the next challenger for the Legacy Championship, and he selected Davey Boy Smith, who has been on a roll. What a match that will be. Malaya Hosaka, your new Butcher Legacy Ladies Champion, and she will be facing the challenge to be determined by Neil Lau and Velvet Wrestling. They are holding a tournament to determine who will be next in line for a shot at the Butcher Ladies Legacy Championship. All right, that is our update from around the Filsinger Games universe. Now we're going to switch some camera stuff around, and with any luck, we're still doing well on the microphones and such. And we are now going to flip over to the tabletop camera. Here we go. And we are going to do the unboxing of all of the Filsinger cards that I received in the mail this week, starting off with Women of the Indies 2026. Some familiar names here. Heather Reckless, a.k.a. Heather by Elegance. She's only 4'9", but she packs a punch, and she has taken TNA wrestling by storm. I did get the chance to see her wrestle live and in person in Chicago a year or two ago, and she is quite the dynamic performer, and her wrestling skills are growing by leaps and bounds. Also new to the Filsinger Games library is her tag team partner Maggie Lee, a.k.a. M by Elegance. In stark contrast to Heather by Elegance, Maggie Lee stands at a good 5'10", 5'11", a stunning young lady with long red hair and lots of athletic ability. All the potential in the world has M by Elegance, and she too is blazing a successful trail in TNA wrestling. A number of new faces to the Women of the Indies library that I am less familiar with. Out of Las Vegas, Nevada, this is Gypsy Mac joining the Heartland Universe, along with a young lady by the name of Hollywood Haley J, just coming from the streets. Hollywood Haley J looking like a formidable competitor here, a 5'2" pin rating, and a sock of rocks finisher that she can invoke after her opponent has accumulated 3 fatigue tokens. Hollywood Haley J looks like a dastardly competitor indeed. Also descended from the heavens at 5'1", 130 pounds, it is Fallen Gray. Fallen Gray already signed for appearances in Velvet Wrestling along with Gypsy Mac, the aforementioned earlier in the show. A 6-footer out of Hull, Yorkshire, England, Alexis Falcon joins the Filsinger Games library. As part of Women of the Indies 26, accompanied by another UK product from the back alleys of Ireland, standing at 5'5", 135 pounds, this is Amira Blair. And finally, the last lady in this card set with whom I am a little bit familiar, out of the Black Hills, the very bizarre, very colorful, very unique Abaddon. Oop. There's Abaddon. And some sort of a zombie persona here. So that is your Women of the Indies for 2026. Good looking card set, 6 cards in all. Actually 8 cards in all. Highlighted by the team of Ash by Elegance and M by Elegance and Heather by Elegance. Big things in store for those two individuals, as I've got plans for them already in Heartland Championship Wrestling. Next up, we take you to the Legends Prime 2026 cards that just showed up in the mail. An unfamiliar competitor to me out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania is Ken Jugan. He's got a 7'4" pin rating, so probably not a familiar face, and probably not somebody who... actually, no, he is 9'6", and if a finisher is used, Jugan is automatically loses. So probably an enhancement talent. I'll have to do some reading up on this Ken Jugan and figure out his backstory. A familiar name, if not a familiar face, out of Honolulu, Duke Kiamuka. I am normally familiar with Duke Kiamuka primarily as being the father of Pat Tanaka. I was a huge fan of Pat Tanaka back in his AWA days as part of Bad Company. Bad Company currently feuding with the team of Tommy Rich and Tracy Smothers for the Atlantic Tag Team Championship. Duke Kiamuka also seems to have some tag team capabilities. He's got a double team attack tag finisher with an option to substitute blind with assault, a disqualification move, and a +2 finisher. So Duke Kiamuka looks like a potentially entertaining card to have as part of the Filsinger Games Universe. Jacques and Raymond, the Rougeau brothers, making their presence known in Legends Prime. Jacques Rougeau, of course, already available as the Mountie. Now he is teaming up with brother Raymond, and those two should be a fine addition to the tag team ranks of the Filsinger Games Universe. I remember the All-American Boys, their theme song. And finally, a couple of colorized versions of wrestlers that we have already been seeing in the black and white version. The French Angel, Maurice Tillet, who was quite a good wrestler in his day, also a movie star and celebrity type of character. So he will be fun. And of course, the legendary battler Ricky Dozan out of Japan has been a black and white card for some time now, getting into the ranks of the colored cards. We'll have to make some use out of him. Legendary performer from the 1960s who met his end far too soon. And that brings us now to the main event of the delivery this week, and that is Hall of Fame set number 7 from the Tragos-Thesz Hall of Fame. Some big names indeed in this set. Starting off with the 2026 Gordon Soley Award for Broadcasting, the one and only Ken Resnick of AWA fame. And who can forget Ken Resnick? As much as we try to forget the promo rap that he did for Super Brawl 1986, and what a hot mess that was. But fun memories around Ken Resnick. Ken Resnick still active on the internet this day and age, and actually scheduled to be in Waterloo this weekend. I was not able to make the trip this weekend, so I am going to miss my opportunity to meet Ken Resnick in person. Also represented in this card set, the King of Wrestling, Roy Lee Welch. Roy Lee Welch established a name for himself around the South in the 1970s, debuting in Atlanta, around to Alabama and Tennessee. Had a run with Ron Fuller's territory. A relative of Roy Lee Welch is Ron Fuller. Adopted a more ruthless persona as the King of Wrestling, went on to feud with the likes of Tom Pritchard. Roy Lee Welch billed as a somewhat smaller wrestler, and on his card, 6'3", 224 pounds. I wouldn't say he's a midget by any stretch of the imagination, but compared to his cousin Ron Fuller, or his relative Ron Fuller, who comes in at 6'9" and 260 pounds, definitely Roy Lee Welch, a smallish competitor by that measure. Ron Fuller, the Tennessee stud, and a very good wrestler in that. Later went on to, started off in college basketball. Turned out to be one heck of a wrestler as well. Would team with wrestlers like Andre the Giant and eventually Bob Armstrong, until Fuller and Armstrong had some sort of a falling out, leading to a years-long feud. The Fuller leg locked the finisher for Ron Fuller, a.k.a. the Tennessee Stud. Another name somewhat less familiar to me is Texas Bob Geigel, Judo Gene LaBelle is next up. I'm primarily familiar with Gene LaBelle as one of the inspirations for Bryan Danielson. He was widely known as a great practitioner of combat sports of many varieties, boxing, wrestling, and judo. Got his wrestling training under Ed Strangler Lewis and Lou Thez and Carl Gotch, so very well trained was Gene LaBelle. Also went on to have a successful training career in his own right and a successful career in Hollywood. A true Renaissance man was Judo Gene LaBelle. Texas Bob Geigel is next. I remember Bob Geigel as the figurehead president of the AWA. But as far back as 1950, he enjoyed a legendary career as a professional wrestler and a promoter, debuting in Texas, making his way to Kansas City, and becoming a very accomplished tag team wrestler. And by some historians' accounts, 23 tag team championship reigns, including versions of the world title, partnerships with Hard Boiled Haggerty and Bobo Brazil, feuded with Lou Thesz, allied with Harley Race later on, and inducted into the TNT Hall of Fame back in 2002 was Bob Geigel. And finally, some names more familiar to the contemporary crowd out of Teculo, Mexico, Tito Santana. Arriba! Or if you remember the days of Jesse the Body Ventura, a.k.a. Chico Santana, the Texican, one of the most beloved wrestlers of his generation, and competed throughout the WWF against the likes of Larry Zbyszko, Ted DiBiase, Terry Gordy, Don Morocco, of course, and Tito Santana had a prestigious feud, a long, bitter feud with Greg Valentine as well, and a run as the Intercontinental Championship. A couple of memorable tag team runs, and a great deal of success on the independent circuit as well. So Tito Santana, a beloved individual. And finally, representing the famous Gagne family, Greg Gagne, a 2024 inductee into the Thesz Tragos Hall of Fame, known for his tenure in AWA, successful tag teams with the likes of Jerry Blackwell and, of course, Jumpin' Jim Brunzell as the High Flyers. And the granddaddy of them all in this set, the one and only Vern Gagne. I am very much looking forward to getting Vern Gagne on my tabletop as part of Heartland Championship Wrestling. What more can be said? The quintessential grappler, the legend, by far the biggest professional wrestling star to come out of the Midwestern United States, two-time national champion at the University of Minnesota, a superstar wrestler as a junior heavyweight, and finally started his own promotion out of Minnesota, the AWA. And in the AWA, he feuded with a veritable who's who of wrestling stars during his time, including men like Ray Stevens, the Crusher, Larry Hennig, Nick Bockwinkel, and Mad Dog Vachon. The rivalry with Mad Dog Vachon, one for the ages, is Vern Gagne. So yeah, that concludes our set for the Tragos-Thesz Hall of Fame and for all of the newly acquired cards. And that is going to wrap things up from the Dave Cave for tonight's edition of the Heartland Highlight Reel. Gosh, we went on almost 30 minutes here tonight between the highlights of our federations and the unboxing of some new cards. So we thank you all for tuning in. That's our stream, and I am out of here.